My name is Antoinette Chanel and welcome back to my channel. I'm pretty excited to be back too. I was under the weather for the last couple of weeks, so that's why you didn't get any videos from me for a little bit. But I'm back now and I'm really excited to talk to you today all about the Invictus Games. I got inspired to do this video because the 2025 Invictus Games just wrapped up, and I couldn't help but notice in the content of Megan's opening speech that she gave on the first night of the Invictus Games, just how different that speech sounded compared to the first speech that Harry gave at the first Invictus Games, which I'll get to in a minute. But basically my point is the Invictus Games have changed, and I want to kind of talk about where they've been before we talk about where they are right now. So the story begins in 2013 when Prince Harry, while here visiting the United States, attended the Warrior Games. Seeing the positive impact that the sports had on the servicemen and women who participated, he decided that he wanted to do something on a global scale, and so he got busy right away working on how do I plan something that is just like this but bigger, that can be shared all over the world. The name Invictus is Latin for unconquered, reflecting the resolve of the servicemen and women who compete. The first inaugural Invictus Games were held in London in September of 2014. It included over 400 athletes from 13 different nations, and they competed in sports such as wheelchair basketball, swimming, sitting volleyball, and archery. The event was a huge success, drawing attention to the triumphs and challenges of wounded warriors. And now take a listen to Prince Harry's speech from that first Invictus Games in 2014.
Whoever's idea it was to put me here was, yeah. Over the past 8 years, I've witnessed the whole cycle of life-changing injury, evacuating soldiers and local Afghans to hospital, flying home from Afghanistan with some of those critically injured, meeting others in hospital, coming to terms with life-changing injuries, and finally trying to keep up with 12 wounded veterans on our way to the South Pole. I can only begin to imagine how challenging the journey of recovery is, but the admiration I have for these men and women to move beyond their injuries is limitless. Last year, through the Royal Foundation, I visited the Warrior Games in the United States, seeing people who, only months earlier, had been told they'll never walk again, and now winning medals in front of their family and friends was breathtaking. I knew that anyone would be inspired by what these men and women had achieved, not just other servicemen and women, but all those adjusting to life post-injury. Each of them have come such a long way. Even making it to the start line is a huge achievement. Their stories are amazing as they are unique. However, they all share one thing: sport. Sport has been the vehicle for their recovery, allowing them to channel their passion into what can be achieved rather than what can't. No longer are these inspirational men and women defined by their injuries, but as athletes, competitors, and teammates. Over the next 4 days, we will see some truly remarkable achievements. For some of those taking part, this will be a stepping stone to elite sport. But for others, it will mark the end of a chapter in their recovery and the beginning of a new one. Either way, you can be sure that everyone who takes part on the track, pool, or field of play will be giving it their all, and I have no doubt that lives will be changed this weekend. It gives me great pleasure to welcome the 13 nations to London and to say how delighted I am that many of you have been joined by your families who we recognise the vital part that they play in your recovery. The British public's support for our servicemen and women has been exceptional, and I know that they will show you the same over the coming days. Finally, I would like to thank all of you for the tremendous example that you set. Your stories move, inspire, and humble us. You prove that anything is possible if you have the will. Welcome to the Games. Welcome to Invictus.
Since the first event, the Invictus Games have continued to grow, being hosted in a different country every year that they are held. The second Invictus Games were held in 2016 in Orlando, Florida, so back here in the United States. And Harry and the Queen had some friendly banter with the Obamas, who Barack Obama would have been president at this time, leading up to the 2016 games. So take a look at that here.
The individuals from last year doing their thing, running 100 metres and all that sort of stuff. And the American man here was incredibly fast. Yeah. Really incredibly
It was
fast.
quite close, isn't it?
Oh, message? Oh, from Michelle. How very amusing. So we like to watch it together?
Yes.
Let's have a look.
Hey, Prince Harry, remember when you told us to bring it at the Invictus Games?
Careful what you wish for.
Boom.
Oh, really? Please.
Boom.
And just some information that I found as I was researching the Invictus Games. So that first one that was held in the United States after, so it was the second one, sorry. The second one held in 2016. That one was hosted at the ESPN Wide World of Sports Complex in Florida. So just some notes that I was able to jot down as I was doing research on the Invictus Games. Over 500 athletes from 15 different nations participated in the 2016 games. In 2017, the games were hosted in Toronto, Canada, and they featured 17 nations with over 550 competitors. They also added golf as one of the sports that was included in this Invictus Games. The 2017 Invictus Games marked the first time that the public really saw Harry and Meghan together. We were sort of introduced to them as a couple at that first Invictus Games, although a lot of people weren't really catching on to that quite yet, especially not here in the United States. Meghan had her part on Suits, and you know, she had a bit of a presence in Hollywood, but she really was not well known to the public here in the United States until she got with Harry. The 2018 Invictus Games were held in Sydney, Australia. This included over 500 competitors from 18 different countries. And this one marked the inclusion of sailing as a sport. And so this one, the timing of this, I think, was right after Harry and Meghan got married. So they went to this one together as a married couple. In 2022, the Invictus Games were held at The Hague in the Netherlands. Originally, these were the games that were planned for 2020, but these got postponed because of that thing that happened. The 2022 Invictus Games included more than 500 athletes from 20 different nations, and also marked the launch of Invictus, The Heart of Invictus, a Netflix documentary. I think I remember that going up onto Netflix sometime in 2023. In 2023, the Invictus Games were hosted in Dusseldorf, Germany, brought together over 500 competitors from 21 nations. And then, of course, the 2025 Invictus Games were hosted in Vancouver, Canada. And like I said, I think they just wrapped up. As far as the impact and legacy of the Invictus Games, there is an Invictus Foundation that is attached to the games, and the foundation provides year-round support for wounded, injured, and sick service members. This was something I didn't know until I started to research it, but there is actually a separate foundation for Invictus that provides support on a continual basis. It's not just about the games. In addition to the presence of the foundation, the games themselves have also brought increased awareness and attention of the veterans that are among us. And in that way, it's very beautiful what Harry was able to deliver in a global fashion to the entire world. The idea that we need to be taking care of veterans, we need to be mindful of their needs, especially after they have separated, and understanding what they go through as they try to assimilate back into life, and also that their journey and that their accomplishments are not finished yet just because they might have been wounded or they might be sick. The veterans themselves who have competed in the Invictus Games have also gone on to have glowing things to say. In particular, I found a quote from a story from the most recent games in Canada. So this was from 2025. And this was a quote from veteran MJ Batek, who is quoted as saying, "As injured, wounded, or sick military veterans, we generally only get one shot at competing in the Invictus Games in Canada. I am grateful for the life-changing opportunity I had to compete in Australia in 2018 and wanted to give back by serving as a volunteer this year." So someone who had competed before decided to come back and volunteer because his experience was that positive and he wanted to give something back. Now, despite the legacy of the Invictus Games being mostly positive, the foundation of them being mostly triumphant and positive, supportive, something that the public at large is in general favor of, the Invictus Games have not been without their scrutiny, and not necessarily because of the games themselves, but because of all of the other fodder that has now started to accompany the Invictus Games, particularly with Megan's increased involvement in them. Some of the competitors in the Invictus Games have urged Prince Harry to step down. Maybe he has served his time and needs to hand the reins over to someone else. And I have another quote for that from GB News. And this is from royal biographer Angela Levin. She discussed the issue with host Mark Dolan, who mentioned about 2,000 ex-military have left the games as they say it's lost its original meaning. Angela Levin then went on to state, "It's become much too royal. Meghan makes the speeches. She actually led a march where some of the ex-military people were either physically, emotionally, or psychologically damaged, or all of it, during the fighting." And in the same vein of it being much too royal, I have to say that my reaction to the speech that Meghan gave at the most recent Invictus Games, so the 2025 ones, it seemed so off base in terms of why everyone was there. I'm going to share the speech in its entirety. Hopefully this doesn't get copyright stricken from the record, but take a listen to it here.
Well, hello, you. Hi, everybody. How are we feeling?
Great.
So I was not planning on speaking tonight, and we just arrived, I don't know, a couple hours ago, and I touched Canadian soil, and I went, oh, feels like home. We are so excited. We also recognize most of you are probably so exhausted from how much travel you've done, how much adrenaline you have pumping, how excited you are for what is going to be one of the most outstanding, memorable, unforgettable, and connected weeks probably for you and for your families. We are just thrilled to be here, and I would be remiss if I didn't take the opportunity to introduce someone who means a lot to me, and I know means quite a lot to all of you. You will see him throughout this week. You will see him at the games. You will see him probably curling with you, cheering you on at He'll be cheering you on at wheelchair basketball. He'll be going down that, what is that? Is it the luge? Oh my gosh, you guys, the thing that I will never do. My husband will probably do 3 times because he wants to be there with you. He is in it with you. And you'll see him through all of those moments. He'll be there with you. What you won't have seen is all of the moments that have happened in the lead up to these games. All of the moments where, as you know, with families, the big rush in the morning and getting ready for school and packing the lunch boxes and making breakfast, and my husband's in all of that with us. And then he'll be on his phone and Archie will say, "Papa, why are you on your phone?" He's like, "Because it's Invictus. I'm getting ready for Invictus." It means so much to him. You are his family, just as we are his family. And I hope you recognize how much of his heart he has poured into every single beat that has gotten all of you to this week that is going to be spectacular. I need you to know that. I need you to know how much it means to him and how much each of you means to him. So it is my entire pleasure and complete honor to introduce to the stage my husband, the father of our very sweet, excited children who are cheering you on from California, Prince Harry. founder of the Invictus Games, the Duke of Sussex.
For a speech that's just saying, hi, look at me, here we are, and let's have dinner, I mean, I guess it's fine, but I thought the point of this was to center the veterans. Why are you mentioning the kids that you don't ever want to show to us? Why are you going on and on about how hard Harry worked at this? Is he the one who's here for the glory, or the sick and wounded veterans that this is supposed to be about? What is going on? Add to this the fact that there's usually an exorbitant budget for Meghan's wardrobe at these things, that it's become the topic of several videos here on YouTube throughout the Meghan snarkosphere, if you will. But this woman spends lots and lots of money on her outfits. For this year's Invictus Games, the number that I found is that she spent £257,000, which equates to like over $300,000 US American. Like, what? And I'm not saying she can't go shopping or have nice things, but every single time you're at the Invictus Games, you're not even there to compete. What do you need to dress up so nicely for? Are you accepting trophies or medals? You're not competing. Why do you need to look like this? You know, when she recycled the Carolina Herrera dress, I thought, ooh, maybe this is a good trend that she's starting for herself, where she's gonna rewear some of the stuff that she's worn before, because why not? But that doesn't seem to be happening, not with Invictus. And it's unfortunate, it's saddening. I think that that's probably the place where I land, is that it's very, very sad. It's sad this beautiful thing that Harry created off of his own gumption, his own passion, his own fervor, if you will, has now become so convoluted. And I guess I understand where the veterans are coming from when they say that Harry should just step down, hand this over to someone else so that the glory and the honor of the Invictus Games can continue to live on valiantly, but under the leadership of someone who really is there for the reasons that they should be, and isn't going to mix their personal branding and PR aspirations with what the Invictus Games are there to accomplish for the veterans and their families who all come to this and partake in the games, compete, and also just watch and cheer people on. That's all I've got on this topic, my friends, but you let me know, did you learn anything new about the Invictus Games? I was definitely blown away when I learned about how many people compete and how many different countries come together for this. I didn't realize that so many different countries were getting representation at that. I thought it was like maybe 4 or 5, but it's quite a few, and it seems to be growing each year, which is good. I just would love to see the focus return to what it originally was going to be on, and I think there are a lot of other people, including the veterans, who feel that way. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you want to stick around so that you can see more of my content, hit that subscribe button so that you can be the first to be notified when I upload new videos. If you want to keep up with me on Instagram, that's my handle right there on screen. Otherwise, take care, and I'll be talking to you again soon. Bye.